The Populism Movement and the Wizard of Oz. Populism evolved during a political movement to appease the struggles forced upon the people by the elites. The farmers were the main focus of the struggles. Out of this rose the Populist Party, which promoted free coinage of gold and silver, a new federal income tax, and public ownership of the railroad system. Frank Baum, in opposition of the Populist Party, wrote the series The Wizard of Oz, which hid powerful symbolism against the Populist Party. Although Baum claimed that it was purely for children, there was a hidden message of populism. Dorothy was a representation of the ideal American during that time period. Dorothy lived in Kansas, where her worn-down house and black and white scenery represented the dull lifestyle during the 1880s through the 1890s. During this time, there was a series of droughts, harsh winters, and an onslaught of grasshoppers that destroyed the crops and turned Kansas into a dilapidated, unlivable region. The twister that sweeps Dorothy away symbolizes the rapid spread of populism across the Midwest. Toto is Quip, innocently following Dorothy just as the prohibitionists pursue the populists. The Wicked Witch of the West represents Wall Street and their vicious manipulation of gold and silver targeted towards the weak, or as they called them, the little people, just as the Wicked Witch had enslaved the Munchkins.
I'll get you back, pretty. And your little dog, too!
To quote Quentin Taylor, the witch's demise by water ends her evil reign, liberates her slaves, and restores the silver shoe she had stolen from Dorothy. Taylor explained how the dry land was quenched, the farmers were redeemed, and the silver had gone back to its proper owners. The brainless scarecrow represents the farmers, many of which were ridiculed and presumed to be unintelligent. Populist leaders were often depicted as misguided blockheads that didn't understand what they advocated.
You see, I can't even scare a crow. Howdy, neighbor. They come from miles around just to eat my field. Howdy, scarecrow. And laugh in my face.
The Tin Man is a symbolization of the industrial workers. He lacks a heart, just as the workers had lost their feelings and developed into machines, just like he turned into tin.
The Cowardly Lion represents William Jennings Bryan, the Nebraska representative of the Populist Party. Bryan, which rhymes with lion, failed to gain support of the workers, just as the lion was unable to leave a mark on the Tin Man. Many of Bryan's critics considered him pusillanimous for backing out of War of Spain.
The winged monkeys represent the Indians that were driven out of their lands, just as the Wizard of Oz took over the monkeys' land. Just as the Indians became hostile due to aggravation from the reservation policy, the monkeys became belligerent thanks to the evil influence of Oz.
Now fly, fly, fly!
The Chinese immigrants and the Filipinos are represented by the yellow Winkies because they represent the stereotypical yellow skin of the Asian immigrants. Although green in the movie, the Winkies were intended to be yellow to symbolize these immigrants. The Land of Oz represents the diversified landscape of America, with Emerald City as the focal point, just like our capital, Washington, D.C. The expedition to Emerald City symbolizes the Populist Party's effort to amass an influence in Washington, D.C. The wizard represents the deceitful politicians during the era. Just as the voters could not distinguish the objectives of the politicians, neither could Dorothy and her friends discover who the real Oz is. Politicians were also known for breaking promises, just like the great and powerful Oz avoided rewarding Dorothy and her friends for killing the Wicked Witch. The wizard came from Omaha, Nebraska, where he became a hot air balloonist. This ties into William Jennings Bryan's homeland, which was a stronghold of populism. Nebraska was also where the 1892 Populist National Convention was held, where Bryan gave his hot air speech. The word Oz represents the abbreviation for an ounce of gold or silver, which relates to the dilemma with free coinage. Emerald City represents the color of paper money and the land of the greenbackers. The cheerful inhabitants of Emerald City show a positive outlook on paper money, which went against that of free coinage. The Wizard of Oz is an anti-populist fable full of symbolism that entails the story that lies behind the populist movement.
Fly over the rainbow, why then, oh why